Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Claire, and today my dad and I, we are going to be building a frame for my picture that I made for my grandma, and it is a picture of a bear head because she really likes bears, so I made a bear head for her bedroom. Let's get on to it. Hey guys, before we get started, my dad's going to talk about the parts that he made to build the frame because he built the frame himself.
Hey there. For this first part, I'm just going to explain where this came from. This is a frame that I made for Claire's picture. It's made out of 2x4 pine. Now it doesn't look 2x4. If you know what 2x4s are, they're a little thicker. But we cut it down. We sliced it kind of long ways to make it a little thinner. The reason we had to make the frame is because Claire did her painting on a piece of paper that's 14 inches by 17 inches, and most places that sell picture frames like Walmart, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, places like that, they don't really make frames for those size of paintings. So we took the wood, we sliced it in half, and then we did what's called a miter joint. So a miter joint is when you join two pieces together at an angle. It's not easy to do unless you have some special equipment. It's not hard to get. You may have your own family may have what's called a miter saw. You may have relatives or friends that have a miter saw, and you can get, and those are electric, by the way, but you can also get non-electric miter saws. They're often called miter boxes at hardware stores like Lowe's and Home Depot. But once we assembled everything, through with screws and with these little brackets on the back here. Once we assembled everything, we took some stain. That's why this is brown, and that's why the back, you see the back looks a little bit lighter. The front is a little darker because we used what's called a wood stain. And so this is just a very popular type of wood stain called Minwax. We use the color called Early American. There are a number of different colors that can be almost black to some that are quite red. I've even seen some that are blue that will stain your wood blue. So if you like those different colors but you still want to see kind of the woodiness of the frame, you can use a stain. So what we did is we put the stain on and we let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then we wiped off the excess and just let it sit for about a day. After a day, we then took what's called polyurethane, and if you noticed when I held the picture up, the frame up, it looks kind of shiny, right? And the reason why is because we put what's called a polyurethane coat. Sometimes it's called a clear coat, and we use what's called a clear gloss. Gloss means that it is shiny. Now, if you don't like the shininess of a picture frame, you can also use different not shades, but different finishes, such as a semi-gloss. There's also a matte finish. And so semi-gloss is a little less shiny, and then a matte is not shiny at all. The other option you have for polyurethane or the clear coat is you can also use a spray can. So what I showed earlier, you would brush that on, same thing with the stain, but you can also get little spray cans of the same material. And so if you don't have a brush, you can just spray it like you would spray paint. And so that's how we built the frame. We just talked about building the frame of the picture. The next couple things that we need is, because this is it's a painting on a piece of paper, we want to put some glass in front of it. Now, if you are trying to frame a painting that's on a canvas or a canvas board, typically you don't use a piece of glass. But if your artwork is on paper, like a drawing, if you use pastels, or if you paint on some sort of acrylic or oil paint paper, probably putting a piece of glass in front of it would help kind of flatten it out if there are any wrinkles in the paper. And so there's nothing magical about this. This is just a piece of glass. It's called a single pane glass that we picked up at the hardware store. We went to Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever hardware store you have in your town or your county. will work just fine. Now again, just like the picture frame we had to make ourselves because the paper that the picture is on is an odd size, you would more than likely have to get this piece of glass cut. So again, we got the piece of glass cut at a size that was 14 by 17 because that was the size of the painting. The other thing we're going to use is what's called mat board. Now you can use a number of different things for this, but what we need to do is we need to sandwich the painting between the glass and something behind it to kind of flatten it out and sandwich it. We're going to use, like I said, mat board. If you don't have mat board, we just happen to have some laying around. This can be a little expensive if this is all you're going to use it for. So you could maybe, if you have some cardboard laying around, or maybe if you have a cereal box that if you're trying to frame something that's small, you have an old cereal box that you can cut out the shape of your painting or your drawing or whatever. But you just need something in the back to kind of sandwich that against. And then the next thing, and I'll show you how this all goes together, or we will. The next thing is we're going to need some hardware, and we're going to need hardware for a couple of different things. We're going to use, first of all, what's called glazier points. This is, and we'll show you this a little more up close when we put everything together, but this is what's going to actually hold the artwork, the glass, and that mat board backing all up against the frame so it doesn't fall out the back when you hang it. We're also going to use things like hanging hardware. So we'll use something like this to put on either end of the picture, and then we'll use some hanging wire to make a little wire hanging device. Yeah, and then once that's all done, we're going to put some cardboard backing on the back. We'll actually do that before we put the hardware on there. But once that's all assembled, then you can hang your piece of artwork and whatever wall you want to hang it on. Just ask your parents before you do it.
Okay, so like my dad said, we're going to make a picture sandwich with the glass, the picture, and the backing of your choice. But first, before we get started, we need to clean the glass, but be careful of this when using this so we don't, be careful of sharp edges.
So like we said earlier, we're going to build a picture sandwich. We're first taking our frame, we're going to turn it the front side down because we're going to build it from the front of the picture frame towards the back. And the first thing to go in is our piece of glass. Now again, if you were assembling this for a painting on a canvas, on what we would call a stretched canvas, you're going to build this a little bit differently, but what we're showing you today is how to build this frame for a piece of art on a piece of paper. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring our picture in, and so it's important to always identify what the top and left and right and bottom are. And so we're going to make this the top of the picture, and so we need to make sure that the top of the picture is on the same side as the top of the frame. And so we're going to take this and we're going to put it down like this. So now our top of the picture is here, top of the frame is here, and everything is aligned. Next we're going to take our backing. Again, this is mat board. You could use cardboard or cereal box cardboard, whatever you have that would fit the back. I'm going to place that. I'm going to place it dark side up. And we're just going to place that down like that. And now we've built our sandwich. Now what we have to have is we need to have something to hold it in place. And this is where these things called glazing points come in handy. So these are little oddly shaped nails that are used to hold pieces of glass like in a window, or in this case, a picture. So a picture in a picture frame, that could be a photograph, a piece of art. This is not the only thing you can use to hold these pictures in a frame, but this is what we have, and this is what we're choosing to use. Now what I want to do is I want to show you one a little up close, and if I have my cameraman zoom in real quick, it's a very strange looking nail. It's we got a sharp end on here, and that's going to go and it's going to embed in the side of the picture frame. So let me show you what that looks like. So we're going to take our glazing point and we're going to lay it the flat side down, and we want the point to be pointing toward the edge of the frame. And so I'm going to go ahead and have my cameraman zoom in real quick. And you don't use a hammer for these kind of nails. You use like a screwdriver or some sort of flat edge. A regular standard screwdriver will be just fine. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to push on the screwdriver in this direction, that way. I don't want to press down because there's some glass underneath there. And so I'm going to just go push. Again, I'm just trying to push to the left and about that far. That's all we need right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rest of these in. We've decided that we're going to do 3 glazing points on the 2 long sides. So we're going to put one here, we're going to put one here, we're going to put 3 here, and we're going to put 2 on the bottom. Well, for the picture it would be the left and right sides, so the 2 short ends. Now you can put as many or as few as you want in here. Just remember, if you ever want to use this picture frame or any picture frame for a different picture, so let's say, you know, Claire makes another picture on a 14 by 17 piece of paper, or maybe a 14 by 17 canvas, we're going to have to take those glazing points out. So if you have a lot, yeah, your picture is not going anywhere, but you're gonna have a hard time getting all those glazing points out. So kind of try to find a balance. So here we go. I'm gonna put the rest of the glazing points in, and we'll catch up after that. So we got all of our glazing points in, everything's secure, not moving around, and so we're gonna do the test on here. We're gonna raise this up and see Claire's nice, beautiful picture, and notice nothing's falling out. And so far we got one last step to go, and I'll introduce that step coming up next. So we have our picture sandwich made. We have it secured in place by the glazing points. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little piece of kind of, I'm not sure what this paper is, brown paper. It's if you get paper grocery bags at the grocery store, this is the same type of paper that those are made of. It's going to help protect the wall against the picture frame as it hangs up against the wall. And I've just taken, this is the paper that we got with the piece of glass that we installed just a little bit ago. We're just going to take this, and you want to use what's referred to as a heavy-duty stapler. You wouldn't be able to use a regular staple that you might use for your homework or a report or something like that. It's just not strong enough. Not everybody has one of these. You may. If you do, make sure you ask for permission before you use something like this. But yeah, so we're just going to go around. I'm going to try to make it as flush as I can. I'm just going to put little staple marks along the way. Pull this out a little bit more. Get this in place. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the hardware that is going to hold the picture on the wall. So we've chosen to use a wire system, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take these two little D-rings, we're going to attach them on either side, and we're going to have a wire that runs from one end to the other, and then you'll hang this kind of like that. Okay, so we can't just put it anywhere we want willy-nilly because it'll hang weird or you'll see the wire. But actually, first and foremost, we have to make absolutely sure where the top of our picture is, because what we don't want to do is put the hardware on the side that we think is the top and it actually ends up being the bottom. So we're going to look at this. I'm going to take this off. We'll look at the picture. And so this is the top, so we want this side to be the top. So if we flip that around, and what we could do is I'm just to be absolutely sure, I'm going to write the word top there. Then what we want to do is where we place these is going to be important, because again, if we put it too far down, the picture will actually hang away from the wall. So most people will tell you to come down about 1/3 the way from the top of the picture. So that means we're going to measure here. We got about 20 inches long. So if we take 20 divided by 3, that's going to give us somewhere between 6 and 7 inches. So if I do my math real quick, that's going to be 6.666, so about 6.7 inches, which is about 6 2/3 inches. So I'm going to come down about 6, and let's just say 6 5/8. If we were in England, we would be using millimeters or centimeters, but we're used to using inches and feet. So we're going to come down on the other side. We're going to come down again 6 and I said 5/8, right? So 6 5/8. Put a little dot there. I'm just going to make that a little bigger, just because I'm an old man. And I want to make sure that I see where we're going. So the next thing we're gonna do is take our D-rings and we're gonna put them, I'm gonna put this one here, flat side down, and I'm gonna put this one, not necessarily on the hole, I'm gonna probably, I'll probably come in a little bit from there, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and screw these in, and then we'll come back and we'll install the wire. Next thing we have to do, and the last thing we really have to do, is we're going to add our wire. We're going to attach the wire to both ends of the D-rings that we screwed in the step before. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, go underneath the D-hook, and we want to leave about, probably 3 or 4 inches. I'm going to bring a little more out. And we want to wrap it over and under and really pull that taut. I'm going to go over and then I'm going to go under, but I'm going to come back up through the D-ring, kind of forming a little knot there. And then I'm going to come around and I'm just going to wrap this little lagging end around the wire about 5 or 6 times. Now you can wrap it as many times as you want. But this is really taut wire. This is really strong wire. It's kind of almost like a guitar string. It's a little more malleable. I'm going to go, let's go about 2 more times. That's probably even overkill. Make sure it's seated on there perfectly. And I'm pulling each time I wrap it around. So that'll be 1. And then we'll go 2. And then I'm going to, I don't want that hanging off, so I'm going to take my little cutters here and I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to smooth it out. And now I'm done with that end. So what we're going to do now is going to attach the other end, but it's important to make sure that we don't make it too tight and we don't make it too loose. If we make it too tight, there's not going to be room enough for it to hang and it's going to tilt forward. If we make it too loose or too long, we might see the wire above the picture frame when we go to hang it on the wall. So what I like to do is I like to try to get within 1 inch or 1.5 inches of the top. And so I put my finger, I want it about hanging right there, and I'm going to take my thumb and put it right there. And then I'm going to cut off about 3 to 4 inches on this end, so I know that I have enough. Now, if you're going to cut incorrectly, it's better to cut too much or cut to where you have too much left over than to end up not having enough, and then you would have to start all over. Make sure that's nice and twisted. So now I'm going to just do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come in. Again, I want to kind of about right there. And also keep in mind these things swivel, so I want to make sure that I account for that. That's good. Okay. So I'm going to go down, under, over the top, and then back from the bottom side of the D-ring, making that nice little knot there, pulling all the way, and then I'm just going to come and make about 5, 6 or 7 passes. That's 2, 3, bring that down, And I think that's probably about actually 6 or 7. I lost count. But I'm going to check my distance, still a good distance. And now I'm going to cut the leading or the little hangy part off. And I'm going to flatten that out. Now I'm going to check my line again. So again, it's loose enough to where when I go to hang it on the wall, it's not going to tilt too far forward, but I'm also not going to be able to see the wire above the picture frame when I hang that on the wall. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hang it and see what it looks like in its final state.
Okay guys, hope you had fun making this, if you did. And remember, be careful when making this, and please ask an adult to help you during this. And I'll see you next time.